The Amped Up Podcast for Friday, July 21st, 2023. We got a packed, stacked, jacked show for you today. Just 15 days away from SummerSlam. And WWE is hitting you guys with SmackDown tonight. The big segment they have planned is being labeled the SummerSlam Rules of Engagement between Jason Uso and a returning Roman Reigns. But it's a match tonight that is most likely going to capture the attention of most of the wrestling world. And it has to do with one of the most over professional wrestlers in the game today. Alls I'll give you hint-wise as a teaser, yeah, if you don't know, you're bouts to know. We're going to talk all about SmackDown tonight and a massive match that WWE cannot get wrong. In the last 3 times we've said this, they've got it wrong, and nothing has made sense going forward. It's going to be a big conversation, a big SmackDown tonight, and it's not even on Fox. We'll talk all about it coming up in this podcast. We're also going to talk Shawn Michaels. He is responding to Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Kevin Nash's comments on LA Knight being a bootleg of Stone Cold Steve Austin and a knockoff Rock. Of course, Kevin Nash's comments were illuminated, made their rounds, and he took a lot of heat and backlash for them. But now it's Shawn Michaels responding. And of course, Diesel came into WWE as the bodyguard of Shawn Michaels. So this will be an interesting take. We'll talk about it. Alexa Bliss is talking about how being away from WWE is actually a good thing, and she discusses if she will even come back to the company. We'll talk all about it. Logan Paul goes in depth with the 2 options he was presented with for SummerSlam and how they landed on Ricochet, but more importantly, who he was having those discussions with. We'll talk all about it in today's Amped Up. Also, AEW gets back to 950,000 in viewership for Dynamite. Of course, we know why, but it's exactly what BC said would happen, and why AEW should not look at this at all like it's a bad thing. This big pay-per-view worthy Dynamite, and they couldn't crack that all-elusive million. Well, BC is actually going to be positive on a number here. Not uber, obviously. They should be way further than they are right now as a company. But why they can look at this as a positive. Matt Cardona was snuck into WWE Raw this week. Zack Ryder will discuss. And BC poses a big question on if you, my amplified unit, would pay money to WWE to watch Raw and SmackDown, because it might come to that. The company is getting greedier by the day, and Endeavor is going to want to make all that money back. Why you might be paying for Raw and SmackDown in the future. We'll discuss all of this and a lot more. Also, super thanks, super chats coming up at the end of this podcast as well, and channel member shoutouts. It is a packed, stacked, jack show with no more time to waste. BC's gonna get a huge swig of my Dunkin' Extra Extra, and I do hope you guys come right on back and talk a lot of pro wrestling with BC Amplified. So let's get amplified. All right, let's kick off this podcast with how we ended the teaser in the cold open. That big question I got for you guys. Would you pay to watch Raw and SmackDown? Would you give WWE Ari from Endeavor, or you can look at it as Vincent Kennedy McMahon or Paul Levesque McMahon, Nick Khan, would you give them your money just to watch Raw and SmackDown every week? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments if you would pay your hard-earned money to watch Raw and SmackDown. Not the premium live events like you're doing on Peacock. Just to watch Raw and SmackDown. Because I pose this question because that's going to be a very likely scenario in the future. If not for this next TV rights deal, then most likely the one after it. one way or the other, within the next 10 years, Raw and SmackDown is going to a streaming service, guys. Nick Khan, Ari are already discussing about how Amazon Prime is already a very real player in the game. And that it could go to Amazon Prime during the next TV rights deal. By the end of 2024 into 2025, you got to go on streaming services like Amazon to watch your Raw and your SmackDown. But beyond that, if they don't reach the goal that they have to achieve, Ari said there's no other option. Comcast, Universal, or Fox, or any other conglomerate network, if they do not meet where they want to meet financially for the next TV rights deal, Ari has already said they're out. So they could very likely create their own hybrid super streaming service. You have the UFC and the WWE and many other entities. But a lot of people would only hand over, let's just say the price point is $9.99 a month, a 10 spot every month. Most people, wrestling fan-wise, are probably going over just to watch professional wrestling. We know that by data and research already done with Peacock. A lot of the wrestling fans, they found out, only watch wrestling on Peacock. They're not going on there to watch Grey's Anatomy, Saved by the Bell, Chicago Fire, or any other show or original movie. They're going to watch the premium live event, and then they get off of the Peacock streaming service. So that means a lot of wrestling fans would have to just fork over $10 every month just to watch Raw and SmackDown. When Raw, for the last several years, there has literally been fans. Trust me, I've gauged the community. And this microcosm is just that. It's a microcosm of the grander scale. And there has been many fans that said WWE should be paying them for having to watch that shit. But here you are having to pay for Monday Night Raw. Is Raw worth $10 a month? To a lot of fans, it's not even about the $10. That's measly. That's just $10. It's the principle of the point. Having to pay for a show like Raw when they don't even care about the show themselves. It doesn't sit well with a lot of fans. SmackDown, maybe you can make the case. But for a lot of fans, it's not about the $10. A lot of fans can afford the $10. Is it worth it? You saw what happened when pay-per-views became premium live events for a subscription service like WWE Network or Peacock. Their prestige, their value was lowered exponentially, massively. To great magnitudes was the level of what a pay-per-view used to be, how low it sank. And still to this day, these pay-per-views, these premium live events, they fail to really captivate what we're looking for and what we used to get in a pay-per-view. And that's because they don't have to care about it anymore. It's subscription-based. They got the money, so you're going to get whatever the show they produce. Well, if they already don't care about Raw, and the Bloodline is basically holding SmackDown on their back, once you go to a subscription base, why would they need to care after that? That brings up a big, interesting conversation. If Raw goes off the USA Network and SmackDown goes off of Fox, they cannot meet Nick Khan and Ari of Endeavor where they want to meet financially. And they get taken off their respected networks. They go to the streaming service. They say, now to watch Raw and SmackDown, you have to pay $10. Would you do it? Yes or no? Answer that question, if you don't mind, down below. I'd love to know if you guys would pay $10 to watch Monday Night Raw. Because now you have to. You know, some fans might say, well, are the premium live events there too, BC? Because that would matter. If you're getting the premium live events, then we're already paying for that anyway for Peacock. Might as well just pay it. We'll switch over to whatever Endeavor has, streaming service-wise, and we'll just be able to watch Raw and SmackDown, so it's no harm, no foul. But Peacock still has the rights to the PLEs going all through next year, so no, you actually wouldn't have the PLEs. So would you hold off then, maybe? Right? Maybe. But no, Peacock still has the PLEs. So you'd literally just be getting Raw and SmackDown, at least from the jump. BC is going to answer this right now for you, right? If you're wondering, well, BC, you're asking us the question, we'll answer, but what's your answer, BC? Would you pay the $10? And you're probably thinking, well, of course BC would because he's got the podcast. Guys, I can end this podcast today. Snap of a finger, blink of an eye, drop of a hat, I can end this podcast. If you think I need to talk pro wrestling every day going forward for the rest of my life, it's not needed. I love it. I'm still passionate about it. It's why this channel was created and why it is still a hobby today, just a successful one. But it's why I still do it, because of you guys. You make it so special. So it's still so much fun and so interesting to do these podcasts with you guys and talk pro wrestling, man, and trying to make it better, right? That's always been our mission statement. Make this better. But I don't need to do it. So no, I morally, there's no way I would just throw $10 just so I'm in the know so I can have a podcast. Never would I do that. There has to be more to it. And for BC, my answer is yes, I would pay the 10 spot a month. If that was the scenario we were in, I would pay the $10, but it's because I do still love professional wrestling. And I am still passionate about it. And I do want to see it and help it get better and become better as an industry. But I still tune in out of habit and hope. On a Monday night, I'm still tuning in like many of you guys out of habit and hope. Habit because we've been watching since we were little kids watching Monday Night Raw. So it's a habit. So even as you get older, still Monday nights, you're thinking, oh yeah, Raw's on. It's kind of ingrained in you. Habit and hope. Hoping that one day it actually gets better than it has been for the last 10 years. A lot of us watch out of habit and hope. And over the last 3 or 4 years, I've noticed a lot of those fans that watched out of habit and hope, they've actually just given up. They said, I can't do it anymore, BC. And they still stop by once in a while to say what's up to the podcast. And I appreciate you guys, man. Even though you don't watch the product, you still stop in and say what's up. But a lot of people have said, no, habit and hope isn't enough anymore. Well, for BC, it still is. Yeah, I'm busy every day of the week doing a lot of things outside of the wrestling world, I can assure you. And there's times I think, well, damn, if I just had Monday night completely free, how much more I could get done. But that's my time. That's my time to enjoy something, or at least try to enjoy something that I did for so many years. And even if my Monday nights got kind of clouded with other business, it still would be nice at 10:30 at night with only a half an hour left in the show, but still with a half an hour left nonetheless, to turn it on and watch and see what's up. Who they got main eventing. What's the big story? Can I get back into this? You know, I still would like the option of it. So my answer is yes. For those reasons, man, I still have that hope. And I still do tune in out of that habit. And I still want to see this become so much better. So I would pay that. I would pay the $10 over to this new hybrid super streaming service from Endeavor. And I would still pay over at Peacock to get the PLEs. And I don't know when it's all said and done, and every month when that extra cash is out of our wallets, I don't know if a lot of us can honestly say it was worth it or not. In time, it would tell. How would the shows be for Raw and SmackDown once they're on this streaming service? Maybe it gives them the boot in the ass. Maybe they care a lot less. It's an interesting discussion, man, but it's one that needs to be had because the more and more that we find out about these TV rights deals and where Nick Khan and Ari of Endeavor, the CEO, where their heads are really at financially, goal-wise, where they see these shows in the future, the more we find out, we see that they are thinking streaming service today, yesterday, not 10 years from now. And the only way that Raw and SmackDown stays where they are, or on cable, is if those networks actually meet the financial goal that has been set by Ari and Nick Khan, and they refuse to lower that bar, guys. They refuse. They're upset right now. Nick Khan has told you in interviews recently he thinks they are being underappreciated in value right now by their Peacock deal, which obviously is Universal USA. It's all connected. Comcast, Universal, USA Network. It's all one. Comcast runs Universal. Universal is parented over USA Network. So you're actually tying in Peacock with the USA's Monday Night Raw. And over on Fox, Fox has told WWE, we're not going substantially higher if that's what you're already thinking. And Nick Khan said, oh, you are. And Ari has said, you have no choice. We got to make our money back. Interesting conversation, man. And not too far into the future, you guys will have to be paying money to watch Raw, your hard-earned money to watch Raw and SmackDown. It's going to come to that. And don't be shocked if it's sooner rather than later. Interesting conversation. Is Raw good enough right now for you to shell out another $10 every month? I'm just putting the $10 price point, by the way. I doubt it's going to be like a $4.99 type deal, $5. It's probably going to be one of those $10 whoppers. But I also bring that up because Peacock has had to raise their subscription rates. If you guys are subscribed to Peacock, you guys are going to have to spend more money now, starting August 17th. There was word about this last week, so it's not breaking news. The news is that it is now official. They said they were holding back. There was a few loopholes they had to kind of fill a little over 48 hours ago. So they kind of held back on officializing that. Well, it is now official. August 17th, you guys will be being bumped up at least $1. There was like a $5.99 subscription rate, bumped up $1, and then the other premium package, whatever it's called, you guys will be bumped up at least $1. I think it might be $2. So you do want to check with whatever package you have for the streaming service Peacock to watch your premium live events for WWE. You might want to check that. You will be being billed more now every month. That is official, and it kicks in on August 17th. That is a Thursday. And I will give you guys 1, 2, 3. It's about 4 weeks away from yesterday. So you got a good month to plan ahead. It's only a $1 or $2 BC. It's not going to break the bank. But for a lot of people, sometimes times are hard for a lot of people, and you gotta, every penny can help. Growing up, my family was in many situations like that. Every penny helped, and I'm not even joking, bro. The dollar store. The dollar store would basically be like a kingdom to us at times. The fact that we could actually go to the dollar store and buy something. It was like it was a glorious day, It was, times were rough growing up, but we pulled through. But every penny helps, and you never know what people are really, financially anyway, going through. So you absolutely want to think about that. These companies, they do, trust me. They're like, who is actually going to pay for this? Is it going to hurt us more than help us? And after all their research is in, they go, well, we're taking the gamble. Research came back and said they are going to pay the extra $1 or $2. But when everybody's doing that, right? Netflix is doing that. They're raising their subscription service prices. When Ari does come with the hybrid WWE package, that's going to be substantial. So when everybody does that, you'll start to feel that impact, man. So thank you guys for that conversation to open up the podcast. It's one that needs to be had because it's just weird to think about, but it's something that is going to happen, guys. I assure you. If it's not this upcoming TV rights deal, within the next 10 years, you will have to watch Raw and SmackDown on an app, most likely on a streaming service, and you'll be paying to watch Raw. Just think about that. So my question is simple. Would you do it or not? Would you pay to watch this Monday Night Raw? Or would you say, no, it would have to be a lot better than this for me to give them $10 a month? I don't care if it is just $10. Answer down below. BC says yes, man. There's a part of me that painfully says that, though, because I know how Raw is. And if a certain individual doesn't win tonight on SmackDown, and we're just resting on this bloodline stuff, well, then you could throw the SmackDown on there too, man. On shows that I really could, take it or leave it. I could literally leave it today and I'd have no FOMO like a lot of you guys. No fear of missing out. But there is that big situation evolving tonight on SmackDown, and that's where I want to move on to next. LA Knight. The big thing they got going tonight is the SummerSlam rules of engagement. Roman Reigns returns face-to-face with Jason Uso, really setting up their SummerSlam match. But it's LA Knight, yeah. And his match tonight, it is a qualifier to get to Santos Escobar next week. The winner of that match will then go to SummerSlam to take on Austin Theory and try to capture his United States Championship, a title that many say should have been off Austin Theory just as soon as he got it. Many people say that everything John Cena said remains correct today that he said before WrestleMania. The piped-in boos are still there for Theory. The connection with the majority of the crowd is not there with Austin Theory. The title did not do anything for Theory, or vice versa. A lot of fans say that, and BC has to agree. Is now the time to take it off of him in Detroit? SummerSlam? Is LA Knight the guy to do it? Well, in one word, I can tell you, yeah. And I thought most of the wrestling world can tell you, yeah. You guys see, there was, clips or the reports that after Dynamite, and I think there was video surfacing of it as well after Dynamite, a lot of fans that were leaving the arena, they were breaking out in LA Knight chants. LA Knight chants at an AEW Blood and Guts show. That tells you how over this guy is. But to get over to Santos Escobar, you first have to get over the first biggest obstacle. I should say second, the first biggest obstacle, get put into this match. I mean, he was left off WrestleMania, and Backlash, and Night of Champions, and Madison Square Garden's SmackDown show after Money in the Bank. He was left off all of them as he was white hot. As he was white hot, he was left off all of those shows. Money in the Bank, he finally gets on the show and he loses. So it's insane to think that this is actually the consolation prize to put him in a fatal four-way just to get a shot at the mid-card title, but it's a consolation prize we're absolutely going to accept. We're just glad that he's getting the chance to do such. Right when Stone Cold Steve Austin was getting that rise, he didn't go right to the world title. He was going for the IC championship against Owen Hart. First step, King of the Ring. Second step, Intercontinental Championship. And if we have to, we'll go the same route with LA Knight. Go for the U.S. Championship. You get two birds with a stone here because you're taking it off of Austin Theory, which just needs to happen at this point, and it's needed to happen for a while. And on top of that, LA Knight finally gets to that next level. But he gets that chance tonight. Last week was the first fatal four-way. This week, Part 2. Santos won last week. He's waiting for whoever wins this matchup tonight, and he'll face them next week. Now, with this match, it's basically all faces. LA Knight still within the company looked at as a heel, I guess. Yet he's getting some of the loudest cheers and receptions that we've heard in quite some time. But everybody is a face. Sheamus is a face in this match tonight. Rey Mysterio, obviously, a face in this match tonight. Cameron Grimes, clearly a face in this match tonight. And LA Knight, whether you want to call him a face or a heel, is the most over dude right now in pro wrestling, you can say. So it's an interesting... It's a befuddling way to go if you're WWE to put these four dudes in that match. It's almost like they want to split up the reaction that LA Knight is getting, knowing that Rey Mysterio is going to have his dedicated fans, knowing that Sheamus will get his pop, his response from his fans, and knowing that Cameron Grimes, like BC, from his NXT days, BC was so high on Cameron Grimes. I always support that dude. So like having him in this match too with Sheamus and Rey Mysterio, it's almost like they're trying to lessen the response that LA Knight would get by putting three big faces in there with him. Again, I say big face for Cameron Grimes. If you watched NXT, you know how over he was. But Sheamus and Mysterio for sure. It's kind of befuddling that they wouldn't put at least one other big heel in that match. And then they do it on FS1. They don't even put the eyeballs on Fox, right? On LA Knight and do it with the vehicle of Fox. No, they put LA Knight's Fatal 4-Way on FS1. And you say, well, that's smart marketing, BC. Now we have to watch because it's LA Knight. Well, you're missing the point. You want the eyeballs on this. You want casual fans to see that this guy is special, right? When they show up to the show or they watch the show on their television sets and they see everybody reacting so loudly, the casual fan goes, wow, this guy must be a winner. This guy is somebody I can get behind and support. I want to jump on that bandwagon. That's the whole point. To get them to the next level, you expose them to this whole new audience that is going to appreciate it. And putting him on FS1 with nothing but faces in this match, it's befuddling to BC. I'm not... Again, beggars can't be choosers. You gotta be thankful that he's at least getting this option because it needs to happen. One way or the other, we have to get to LA Knight, versus Austin Theory for the title at SummerSlam. We all know that. We have to get to that point. If this is the weird way that they chose to go about that, then that's the weird way we chose to go about that. Nothing we can do. We just got to go on that ride now. Hope that the speed bumps are limited. And hope that we can get to that destination of LA Knight at SummerSlam against Austin Theory. No matter how we got to get there. I don't care if it's like a bowling alley and that highway has guardrails. If you're a really bad bowler and you need the rails up. Well, if WWE is just a bad driver right now and they need the rails up on that highway, then so be it. Put the rails up. I don't care how we got to get there, but LA Knight has to get to SummerSlam to take on Austin Theory. So if it's got to be on FS1, if it's got to be in a match with nothing but faces, if it's got to be with less eyeballs because you know they're going to take a hit in the ratings big time, so a lot less people are going to even be able to see LA Knight do his thing. If it's got to be this way because they want to make it as tough as possible for this guy because they cannot stand this guy getting organically over on his own, then so be it. Stick it to him, is what I would tell LA Knight. Because that is what is going to captivate everybody tonight. Roman Reigns returning. Cool. Bloodline storyline, obviously the best story in pro wrestling unanimously, for most of the wrestling world anyway. Cool. You'll try to bump the rating back up with Roman Reigns being on the show. Cool. But we're all going to be watching keenly. Could you imagine if World Wrestling Entertainment chose to have LA Knight lose tonight? Hit Row or somebody attacks him and they set up a SummerSlam pre-match. Top Dollar versus LA Knight in Detroit. Could you imagine? Unreal, man. Unreal. We don't want to go there. We'll be vividly tuned into that, man. I wanted to do that live tonight. I just don't think there's a way to do that because I am obviously conducting business out in the world. There's a lot to do. The fact that I'm even going to be able to make time to watch that match says something, but you guys will get a review regardless, obviously, most likely anyway, audio format only. But man, what a night tonight. What a monumental decision. I've said this several times recently with WWE, haven't I? The Cody Rhodes situation at WrestleMania. I said, this is monumental what happens tonight. I said that on April 2nd. I was saying it for weeks and months leading up. I said, they can't get this wrong. We know Roman's going on vacation. He's going away. There's no need for him to have the title, and Cody is going to have that title. Little did we know how true those words were. They got it wrong. They botched it. And instead, Roman walked out with the championship, and then he went home for 2 months. And ever since, he hasn't needed the title. He's had tag matches. They're fighting right now more than anything over the red tribal lei, more than the championship. 2 weeks ago, he threw the title to the side, and they were actually all trying to get that red tribal lei. That means more than the title. Who is the real leader of that family? Who is the tribal chief? That's overshadowing there's nothing Roman did since Mania that needed that title. He hasn't even defended in 4 months. Cody Rhodes is in a feud right now where the only reasonable storyline would have been because Brock wants the title. We've gone over this a million times. But we talked beforehand about how monumental that decision was and how they cannot screw it up. They screwed it up and nothing has made sense since. Asuka, we said at WrestleMania, they cannot botch this. She has to win that title at WrestleMania. Nothing made sense afterwards. They botched it. They kept it on Belair. And then a month later, on a Saturday afternoon, Asuka somehow defeats Belair in a rematch and gets the championship. Well, why not just do that at WrestleMania with more eyeballs on a grander stage? Why do Asuka dirty like that? Because you wanted Bianca to reach some goal of however many days of a title reign. I remember they did that. It was like a Raw celebration, but she was already drafted to SmackDown. So it was odd. She was carrying the Raw title on SmackDown, celebrating her Raw reign on Smack. Nothing made sense. At the same time, Rhea was over on Raw with the SmackDown title. Guys, nothing made sense. Just put it on Asuka and then go accordingly. But they didn't do that. And BC was right. I don't say this just for the hell of it. I don't say it because I like to hear myself speak. I say it because I'm trying to make things run better. So it makes sense so we can enjoy this better and the talent isn't being done filthy. Then you go over to... there's been so many botches that we literally said you can't screw this up. And what happened recently? Night of Champions. It was LA Knight winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. I mean, like, you can't screw this up. This guy is white hot. He's the guy right now that if he's teasing a briefcase cash-in, much of the wrestling world is actually going to be excited every time. Like, when his music hits and he comes through that curtain with the briefcase, you truly believe that it could happen right now. He's going to get that briefcase, or he's going to get that title. He's going to cash in that briefcase. At the bare minimum, you at least feel something. You get excited, right? The music hit, and there's LA Knight. You know he means business. When Damian Priest comes out, as much as we respect the dude, there's no excitement. Damian is teasing in a briefcase cash-in, and nobody literally gives a reaction. And what they do, they botched it. They had him choke slammed off the ladder, and Damian gets the briefcase. And sure enough, what have we seen since? Listen to the reactions. Watch the people. Damian Priest, it's going to take more than a briefcase being on him to get truly over with the fans. LA Knight already was. You just got to help take him to the next level. They didn't do that at Money in the Bank. So now we're playing a game of consolation prize. But as long as we get that prize, fine. We can all move on. Let's try to do better. This is one of those times, like we've said many times. Cody Rhodes, Asuka, LA Knight at Money in the Bank, and now tonight. Man, I really hope this company doesn't botch this. Could you imagine tens of thousands of people at SummerSlam? Because it's Detroit. There's going to be, 50, 60 plus thousand fans in attendance. Could you imagine them popping off when LA Knight wins that championship. Now, could you imagine LA Knight not even being in that title match? Could you imagine LA Knight not even on the card? Man, tonight is a monumental, massive decision of amplified magnitude. We'll see what they come up with. Sticking with LA Knight, interesting conversation that Kevin Nash sparked. Kevin Nash went deep into LA Knight being what he believes as just a bootleg knockoff Stone Cold Steve Austin or even The Rock. Now, this is something that LA Knight has been hearing for a while, right? Because there is movements and mannerisms and the way he talks. Yeah, it's a lot of Stone Cold. It's a lot of Rock. BC said a while back, I said you could look at him as 50% Stone Cold, 50% Rock. That's fine. But he's 100% LA Knight. And that's what matters to most of us. If he was just a bootleg Rock or a knockoff Stone Cold, that's one thing. And as fans, we would see right through that, and I can assure you, he would not be over like he is right now. We would have already seen through that. But the fact that he's 100% LA Knight, the fact how he can so seamlessly take two of his idols like The Rock and Stone Cold and make it his own, blaze his own path to the point where we did take that notice and want him on the highest of pedestals, that speaks volumes. So that conversation, I really do hope, at one point in the future, dies down. It's not needed. Kevin Nash was speaking truthfully, he says, when he says he turned on the TV set and he thought it was a rib when he saw LA Knight. He thought it was a big joke that maybe they were pulling on in Gorilla on LA Knight and have him go out there trying to be a Stone Cold or a Rock. Kevin Nash went hard on that. He got a lot of backlash, obviously, because LA Knight is so over. And Kevin Nash says, listen, I'm not going to apologize. I didn't mean no harm by it. I literally thought it was a rib. And he went deeper, man. Nash didn't need to say this, but he did say it. He said, if he was so over with the boys in the back, they would have stuck up for him. In other words, when those comments got put out there, Nash was on blast and everybody, all the fans were coming to his defense. Where was the boys in the back? Nash didn't hear from any of them, so he's now saying that he must not be over in the back either. So he's got to copy Stone Cold and The Rock, legends from the past, just to get over in front of the camera. And behind the camera, he's not over with the boys. That's what Kevin Nash is saying. Man, I don't know what LA Knight did to that dude, but unnecessary, I feel. Shawn Michaels recently responded. Now, of course, Big Daddy Cool Diesel just came in. When he did come into WWE, he was the bodyguard of Michael Hicknam-Botnam, Shawn Michaels himself. Michaels says this, if he's shocked about the words Nash said and what his response is, Shawn Michaels, and of course, he's got a good relationship with LA Knight. They did a lot together, actually, in NXT. You didn't actually get to see a lot of LA Knight in NXT, but him and Shawn Michaels actually did a lot together behind the scenes. That's a story for another podcast. But Shawn Michaels says this, no, not surprised, except that Kevin Nash has always given his opinion on stuff. Again, this is Shawn Michaels, guys, on the Kevin Nash comments about LA Knight. Kevin Nash has always given his opinions on stuff. Dare I say, so does Sportskeeda or every other website out there. Michaels laughs. You guys got opinions on lots of people. Every wrestling fan does. And you're absolutely allowed to have them. As Kevin's allowed to have his. We can all agree or respectfully disagree. So I don't know that LA Knight has any problem with what Kevin Nash says or anybody else. I know him as somebody that we very much enjoyed working with here in NXT. So nobody is happier to see him thriving and doing well on that main roster more than I am. We here at NXT are very proud of all the men and women that got brought up in the draft. Obviously very excited about that. It speaks well of NXT, and it speaks well of what the Performance Center has done for the WWE. So, Shawn Michaels is not blasting Kevin Nash. That's still a very good friend of his. But he does say, many of us will respectfully disagree. This is a quote, nobody is happier to see him thriving and doing well on that main roster than me. Nobody's happier than Shawn Michaels. That's a big statement. And that's a huge, man, if you're LA Knight and you hear something like that with all the shit that he takes in the community from the Kevin Nashes or the fans that just don't like him, right? The haters, if you will. Who was it? Was it an NBA player just recently? It was great, man. Maybe it was the NFL. I forgot which player. He said, if you ain't got haters, you ain't popping off. I love it. So LA Knight is one of those dudes. I don't think he really cares that much. He's 40 years old at least. 41, I believe. He's been in the game so long. He's not going to let detractors phase him in the least. But it's got to be so nice to hear somebody like Shawn Michaels, who is so respected in this industry, to say words like that, man. Very cool. So, as far as, nobody standing up for him in the back when all of this was being talked about, a bootleg Rock, a knockoff Stone Cold, I would respectfully disagree on that as well for Kevin Nash. They're not going to maybe they just didn't want to go on social and start acting like they're 10 years old and get into a social battle with Kevin Nash. But we recently saw footage on WWE with LA Knight. He was there with Rhea Ripley, Omos, Elias, I believe, and so many others. They were in London for Money in the Bank, and they all went to like an amusement park or a fair or something. And they were all having a great time. Rhea's laughing it up with LA Knight on a roller coaster. LA Knight's chumming it up with everybody. Nobody looked like they had a problem with LA Knight. Does LA Knight have to schmooze with everybody backstage? No. So to put a bow on this conversation, a little unnecessarily deep there by Kevin Nash. There's no tension or animosity between the talent and LA Knight because they didn't come to his defense on Kevin Nash's Stone Cold Rock words. So, I don't know, man. I'm happy for that. I really am. I'm happy for LA Knight. I hope people can look at the positive of what he's doing and about to do if WWE finally does give him the time of day. Let him see some light at the end of that tunnel. And he's going to show you guys why, if not at the top of the mountaintop by himself, at least he deserves to be a part of that mountaintop. LA Knight, yeah. And hopefully, hey, who knows? Maybe Kevin Nash will come around as well. But again, if you ain't got haters, you ain't popping off. Love it. Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss explains how time away can actually be beneficial. That's right. Alexa Bliss recently, and I'll give you an exact quote. She hasn't done many in-depth interviews since announcing her pregnancy. And recently, they just announced that it is going to be a baby girl. It was funny. I think a few podcasts ago, somebody was funny. They're like a little late on that news, BC. And I was like, no. Not the news that she's pregnant. The news is that it's going to be a baby girl. They just announced it. So that was actually news. That made BC laugh. A little late there, BC. She announced it 2 months ago. But yeah, she's going to have a baby girl. But she actually took some time, did an in-depth interview, and very insightful. Listen to this from Alexa Bliss. Time away is always a good thing. When it comes to WWE, time away in reinventing a character and evolving yourself is the key to career longevity at WWE. So I always say time away is such a good thing because it gives people the time to miss you. When you're being seen on WWE 3 or 4 times an episode, you don't really have anywhere to go with your character. So whenever you take time off, it's always a good time to evolve and to keep going. And I've already been probably 6 or 7 different versions of myself. And each time it's done well with merchandise sales, with bookings, and all that other stuff. So I don't really like to go backwards with my work. I always like to go forward. So, it's interesting here. Let's just take a couple of these lines and really break them down a little bit. When she says time away is such a good thing because it gives people time to miss you. Those were the same sentiments echoed by Charlotte Flair, right? Charlie just said that last year, deep into last year. She said, she was asked, why do you think people boo you? And her answer, she truly believed it's because she hasn't had time off. She said the words, I haven't gone away long enough for people to miss me. And I was thinking, no, Charlie, that's not why there's a disconnect. So she tried it. She went away. She came back to that massive pop that every wrestler gets when they first come back. And then what happened a few weeks later is all it took for fans to turn and boo and say, all right, that's enough. Then she went away on another hiatus to come back to a big pop, won a championship, and within just a few weeks, they were already booing Charlie Flair. Remember, she was actually begging the crowd to stop whatting her. She has something serious to say, please, don't be disrespectful. Well, that happened right after she came back, just a few weeks. So my point is, yes, time away is good. It does give people the time to miss you and be happy to see you when you first come back. But if the same issues are there, that are the reasons you never connected in the first place, those will rear their ugly dome pieces again. Those same issues are going to be there as to why you didn't connect, and that's what happened with Charlie Flair. With Alexa Bliss, there is a lot of fans where there's still not that connection. BC became a fan of Alexa when she did the whole Bray Wyatt thing. I thought it was done brilliantly. But there's still some fans that would rather say, take it or leave it, Alexa. I can leave her. So it's going to take more for them just to, hey, she's been gone for a while. I'll cheer her when she first comes back, and a month later I'll be like, oh, Mom, here we go. It's Alexa again. So that's the point. Time off, okay. It gives people time to miss you. Okay. You get a big grand response when you come back. Okay. What after that? Have you truly changed it up? Are you now connecting even more, or at least with the sector of fans that you didn't once before connect with? My point is, I've seen so many people go away, come back, and they're in the same rut. I've seen Paul Big Show White take 86 hiatuses, and I think every time he comes back, the connection with the crowd is worse than the time before. I've now seen Charlie Flair with 3 hiatuses, and she's no better off today than she was before the first hiatus. Or the last one. So it's all about what you do with this time off. Have a plan, always being conversation, connecting with the WWE's front offices, with Paul Levesque McMahon, and truly come back on the grandest of scales, man. And rocking amplified status right from the jump. It's going to take more than just having time off. Anyway, I just wanted to say a little something about that line. And then when she says when you're being seen on WWE 3 or 4 times an episode, you don't really have anywhere to go with your character. Now, some people are like, oh, shots fired to Judgment Day, because last Monday night, they were all over Monday Night Raw. They were kind of all over it again this past Monday, and now they're even on NXT. And if you're kind of... well, we'll use the word judging, right? We're talking about the Judgment Day. If you're judging the response from a lot of the wrestling world, man, last Monday when they were oversaturated, overexposed on Monday Night Raw, a lot of fans, that repelled them. That literally sent them backwards on how they felt about Judgment Day. They were like, whoa, way too much, and it wasn't even entertaining. So all you did is you just put together 6 boring Judgment Day segments. This past Monday was a lot better. The Balor-Sethington backstage, face-to-face, beautifully done. The tag team match to end the show with KO and Zayn. And Dominic and Damian, really good. But last Monday, yeah, that was one of those things that really brought the word overexposure back into the limelight. CM Punk said that many years ago when he was in WWE. He said, you don't want to be overexposed. I believe he was with Nexus at the time. And he was asked some question. I wish I remembered what the question was. But his answer was like, you don't want to be overexposed. It'll have a negative effect. See, some people think more is good, right? More is better. No. Sometimes overexposure, oversaturation can actually ruin something. And I always remember that, what CM Punk said. Because it reigns true, especially in the pro wrestling world. So Alexa Bliss is actually correct here that we just saw that happen last week with the Judgment Day. This past week, a little better, but then they kind of ruined it. Then they had them all show up on NXT. They win an NXT mid-card title, and now fans are right back to going, seriously? Was that really needed? Did you have to go into developmental and take out this little Wes Lee? Take his title? You know, a lot of fans are like, come on, that was unnecessary. So, again, overexposure. It's so true. So, it looks like Alexa Bliss, she has a good mindset on what is needed when she does come back. That's a good thing to see, man. A lot of people are anticipating her reconnecting with Bray Wyatt. And, of course, she did get pregnant. Bray Wyatt is out as well. Undisclosed. Some people don't want to see that. Other people like BC, we didn't mind that at all. We actually enjoyed it. And if you think that it was horrible for WWE, again, I take you back to WrestleMania a couple years ago. Bray Wyatt staring at Alexa Bliss when she's up on that Jack in the Box. And I ask you guys to listen at that crowd. It's the loudest they were all night. And that's just Alexa and Bray staring at one another right before Bray's about to take an RKO. But that shows you how people were captivated. Even if you claim you didn't like it, you were watching it. Alexa Bliss, Bray Wyatt, it was a special connection. So I'm looking forward if they do want to do something like that in the future. If that, that's a hot take for some of you guys. No, BC, no supernatural. Well, BC doesn't mind the supernatural if done correctly. Undertaker can shoot lightning bolts out of his hand. Papa Shango can do his voodoo. And Bray Wyatt can do supernatural stuff, I'm going to be okay with that. But no matter how she comes back, I hope it's in a way where we care. But as far as coming back, right? Just coming back to WWE, not so fast. Alexa Bliss also said she is going to be in no rush to come back right after her pregnancy. So there is going to be no timeline set up once she has that kid. There's no plan at all up front. So, first and foremost, I can fucking smell more coffee, BC. Let's just see if she comes back to WWE. Most of us feel she will, but she's got no plan to return at any time soon after that baby is born. Now, some individuals like Becky Lynch, Rebecca Quinn, she had her baby, she came right back as Becky Lynch not long after. She just couldn't wait to get back. There was actually a lot of issues after the pregnancy that she has opened up about. That's her story to tell. But, she just came right back. After a little bit, some weeks, obviously. She just have the kid, and then she came back the next Monday Night Raw. But not long after, she was right back. And then you have people like Trish Stratus who had a kid and said, you know what? I'm out. I'm out of the game. She left. Some people are differently. Some people don't know until they actually have their kid, and then they're like, you know what? I was going to come back, and then I say, I'm looking at this kid, and no, thanks. I'd rather just be the mom. So we'll see, man. But interesting statements by Alexa Bliss. We wish her nothing but the best with her baby girl that will be born in the future and a pending WWE return. So Logan Paul, and I believe this is his Impulsive podcast, opened up about the two options he was presented with to face at SummerSlam. One, of course, being Ricochet, who they narrowed it down and decided on, and the other being LA Knight. Now, we talked a little bit about how LA Knight was first presented to him just a couple of podcasts ago, so that's not really the big news. And then Logan Paul apparently really liked that idea and started pitching even more for an LA Knight match. But it's who Logan Paul was discussing all of this with. And it shouldn't shock you if you listen to this podcast faithfully. This should not shock you at all. But there is a portion of the community that literally thinks Vince McMahon is controlling every moment in professional wrestling. It is Vince McMahon's fingerprints, not only just on WWE shows, but his fingerprints are on AEW shows, Impact, MLW, the local bingo hall. Vince McMahon is in the weeds, mowing the weeds, finessing the weeds, feeding the weeds. Vince McMahon's hands are in every pro wrestling cookie jar. But not so fast. Logan Paul, yet again, says all of his conversations have been and will continue to be with one dude, Paul Levesque McMahon. Paul Levesque McMahon, who we know is so close with Logan Paul. Paul Levesque McMahon loves Logan Paul. Paul Levesque McMahon is the reason that Logan Paul re-signed with WWE and has more dates and will continue to have more matches. It's because of Schnoz McGee, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. That's the whole reason that Logan Paul was in Money in the Bank. That's the whole reason he's got a high-profile match at SummerSlam. It's the reason that he re-signed. Paul Levesque McMahon, he has told you that. Still, people do not want to believe this. He's in there because Vince put him in there. Oh, there he is at SummerSlam because Vince wants it. It's relax with the Vince narrative. It is so sad at this point. Nobody's letting him off the hook. We know he's controlling a lot of shit. We know you can blame him for a lot. But can you just call it what it is, too? Paul Levesque McMahon is in on this as well. Call it straight down. My goodness, man. So he says that he was talking and presenting and pitching back and forth with Paul Levesque McMahon this entire time. But you're led to believe by a certain portion of the community that Paul Levesque is just tied up in a closet somewhere during the shows and he gets let out after the show. And Vince says, good job, buddy. Good job, pal. Hope it wasn't too hot in there. No, Paul Levesque McMahon is having all these conversations. He is determining who's facing who and what is happening and who's winning. Just like he said he was the reason Cody Rhodes lost at WrestleMania. He's the reason Asuka lost at Mania. He's the reason LA Knight didn't go over at Money in the Bank. It's Paul Levesque McMahon. Just, you don't want to believe it? That's on you. Guess what? You ain't going to change facts just because you ain't going to believe it. You don't want to believe it? That's your lie you can continue to tell yourself. It's the facts. And now another wrestler is coming out and telling you all the conversations have been with Paul Levesque McMahon. You know, it's interesting. You know, Logan Paul is one of those dudes that gets free reign. You know, he's allowed to go on his podcast and sell the match that is coming up. Go into business a little outside of the boundaries. And he's probably not going to get in too much trouble by Paul Levesque McMahon. I wish they did that more with Ronda Rousey. I've said this many times this week alone. Ronda Rousey was more WWE in the UFC than she is in WWE. Everything that made her special, the trash talking, the believability, the originality, the physicality, she got the WWE and it's so forced and rehearsed. It's just bad. What did Shayna Baszler say this week to Ronda Rousey? You're just upset that I'm more Ronda Rousey in WWE than you. Something like that. And it was like, wow, it's actually like really true. But anyway, interesting. Logan Paul talking about all these discussions that he's been having with Paul Levesque McMahon. Shocker. And if I can go over to the AEW side of things, man. Yesterday in that podcast, I told you guys, they just did Wednesday Night Blood and Guts, the hour-long cage match. Golden Elite Blackpool Combat Club. Golden Elite takes the W. In yesterday's podcast, I said 950 is very achievable. 950 is most likely what they'll do, as long as they did everything else correctly. Created some other news story topics before the cage match to make people go and catch Q5, Q6, Q7, and Q8 for the cage match. You could absolutely pull 950 from 825. Because that's what they scored last week, 825,000 viewers. You're not pulling in another 175,000 viewers for a glorified cage match. You're not doing it. And that's not shade either. Those individuals went into that match. They did the deed, highly entertaining. But it still is a glorified cage match, and you're not getting 175,000 viewers out of thin air for a glorified cage match. It's not happening. 825 and people are expecting 1 million this week. No. But if you do other newsworthy topic scenarios on that show, it's very obtainable to get back to 950. And you say, well, it's still not $1 million. They can't even clinch that on a Blood and Guts. Guys, 950 was their old, it was their old plateau, right? They were at 950 for so many months, or at least around it. 950 was the top tier of their niche audience. And something happened over the last several months where they dipped to 850 and lower for their top tier of their niche. So that's sad. It's not that you can't bring in new audience. It's that your niche is starting to say it's no longer fun. Your niche is saying I no longer need to tune in every week. And it dropped to 850 and then lower. We've seen it in the 700,000s. Last week it was 825. So if you can get back, if anything, I don't care. Listen, that's why Tony Khan does his announcements, right? And he pops a rating, gets another 100,000 viewers or whatnot. But whatever it takes, sometimes you got to get back to that 950 just to remember who you are. Old school Lion King. Remember who you are. Remember what you are capable of. So you may look at 950 as a defeat or a failure because it's not $1 million and it was like a little pay-per-view, Blood and Guts. But there's a small victory in that 950, man. To see that 950 and still know that you can at least pull that is a good starting point to regroup and start again from. Now, from there on, find a way to get that to 975 consistently, and then you can start to eye $1 million. Because this company, after 5 years, there's no reason it shouldn't be at a 1.2, 1.3 on average every week. That's right, I said it. That may sound bold, that may be a hot take. As a numbers guy, I've done all my research, I've done my due diligence. I've studied this. 1.2 to 1.3. The lack of prime storylines that captivate AEW's audience to the point where they need to tune in every week has not been there, guys. That's what the research tells us. That's why it dipped to 825 and even 775 at one point. Blood and Guts brought them back to 950. That's actually good. Can they even stay there next week and beyond for at least the next 2 months while they regroup? As they go into All In August 27th and then All Out a week later. Can they stay at that 950, or is that just a 1 week thing and it dips back into the 800s? It's interesting, but BC nailed that number yet again. You know, it's not even a pat on the back. I tell you guys these things because it's just facts. You know, I do all the work. I study this stuff, do the research, do all the due diligence, put all the ducks in a row so you guys have the most valid information. So when I said it wasn't going to hit $1 million, but you're most likely going to pull 950 because they did have other newsworthy stuff, right? Hook loses his title to Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Whether you think that's significant or not, it's a topic that is newsworthy. MJF and Adam Cole take their little tag team to the next level. That's pretty big, man. You know, and then you go into Blood and Guts with a little bit more eyeballs, and you know what could have been 925 somehow becomes 950. And you're back to at least where you were before. Trying that $1 million is in range. You just couldn't grasp it. And the hardest part is that you never did. You ended up going backwards, and it was farther away than ever before. To get back to 950 and see that $1 million in your range again, pretty damn cool. So I'm actually not going to come down too hard on AEW here, man. To get back to that 950 and to do it the hard way, they didn't do it with an announcement. They just said, hey, we're going to give you this cage match. We're going to do it the hard way. We're going to put these dudes in there. They're going to beat the shit out of one another, and hopefully you guys enjoy the entertainment. 950 sem-odd. Can they hold it? That's going to be the big question. This one's kind of interesting, man. Matt Cardona, formerly known as... What was he formerly known as? Zack Ryder, man. More coffee, BC. Zack Ryder. He was snuck in by old referee Jack Cone. Now he does a lot of backstage work. Or was it John Cone? There was Jack as well. I think this one's John Cone. But Coney ends up sneaking Matt Cardona into the arena this past Monday so that he could watch Is it his wife or his fiance? Or maybe it's just a girlfriend. But Chelsea Green is his main squeeze. And he wanted to see her get that championship. But in his words, he didn't want to come across like he was begging for a job for WWE. And he didn't want to come across like that to any of the talents. Or just be a spoke on the wheel for Chelsea, like Chelsea's like sidekick with her bags. So he made sure that he was kind of snuck in. Nobody really saw him, or at least very limited, although some pics were taken. I think I was told, so it wasn't that good of a job sneaking around. But he snuck in. Coney snuck him in, and then after she won the title, I guess a couple of pics were taken. He was snuck back out of the arena. So he didn't make the rounds like a lot of people thought, or a lot of people probably didn't even know he was there in WWE's locker room. But that's a story there, and a lot of people, if you do end up hearing it, you might say, well, wow, I wonder who he talked to. I wonder if they maybe came to a deal, or at least talked about coming back. Not so fast. He said he was snuck in, didn't really talk to anybody. Few picks were grabbed, and he took off with Chelsea. So if you were thinking Zack Ryder's coming back to the company, not so fast. And if you were at least hoping, maybe there was a good conversation Monday night. If you find out he was there in the arena, he's saying no, there was no conversations. Nobody really even knew he was there. I'm not going to go into any more topics. I'll keep you guys here for another 4 hours at this point. So what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to go over to my super thanksers, my super thanks super chatters. Yesterday's podcast, a bunch of coffees were thrown over to BC and the channel. And you know, I have to show the ultimate respect right back to those amplified unit members. So if I can get them, obviously we're away from the office studio, so I don't have the big screen that I usually have. So I have to get like a medium screen where I am now and try to get those names up. But I will. I'm not going to do an edit here. Yes, here we go. WWE, AEW Marvel fan with a couple of two-spot coffees in the super thankses of yesterday's Amped Up podcast. WWE, AEW Marvel fan, a gold member, one of the first tried and trues. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the coffees. LA Knight should be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns, says WWE, AEW Marvel fan. He says if it's booked properly, and not just a guy being fed to Roman Reigns, guys like Finn Balor, Big E, and even Cesaro, who are just fed to Roman. It shouldn't be Bray Wyatt either, because he doesn't need a championship. I remember the decision to have him lose to Oldberg at Super Showdown on a Thursday afternoon in 2020. Yeah, that BS decision says it all. I think we all remember that, unfortunately, WWE, AEW Marvel fan. You say LA Knight should be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. I sure as hell ain't gonna say no to that sentiment. I mean, we all think it should be Cody. I think I'm still leading that way. We'll never get the moment we could have had at 39, but I think everybody owes it to themselves to see how big this LA Knight thing can get before we make a big decision come Royal Rumble. Also, WWE, AEW Marvel fan with another two-spot says, I fear that my favorite, Cora Jade, will suffer the same problem if she gets called up to the main roster, in which I hope she doesn't during the next year's draft. She should stay in NXT. I don't trust Triple H with her booking. You have every reason to feel that way. Whether it's a Candice LeRae or a Dexter Lumis or all of these recent draft picks. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, where are they? Carter and Chance have a really good first outing with Ronda and Shayna, and they're not seen again. Or I think they had a jobber 2-minute squash maybe the following week, but you couldn't find them this Monday either. You got to look at people like Grayson Waller. You know, they're doing it weird, man. You have a lot of weeks where he's doing his show, The Waller Effect, but he seems to be just you might as well look at him like one of the palm trees in his set. You know, the Grayson Waller Effect. He's got the palm tree. He's just set dressing. You don't remember a damn thing he does on his own shows. And then he loses to people like Edge, and somebody else beat him on. No, Edge was his debut and he lost to him. And then Grayson Waller lost last week as well in the Fatal 4-Way, I believe. I believe Santos Escobar defeated Grayson Waller. So they're going this weird way where I don't know, man. He's going to be average. He's going to be average to a lot of fans, and they're digging the hole so deep that it's going to be hard to get him out of that. So even Grayson Waller, who many people say there's such big plans for him, not if they're going to do him this way, man. At least he's being used. You got people like J.D. McDonagh. I mean, he attacks Dolph Ziggler for 2 straight weeks, and then you don't see him again. I could keep going on and on. You have every reason to feel that way, WWE, AEW, Marvel fan. A lot of it's just too much talent. Triple H doesn't know what he's doing on this, man. He doesn't. We already knew McMahon didn't, but H, man, if it's not just this little small pond, he doesn't know what he's doing. You know, it's nice to be in this little NXT place. You know, that's where he thrived with all these other masterminds. But now he's got all these talents and all these hours of television. Paul Levesque doesn't know how to do this. In over his head on it. Appreciate it. WWE, AEW, Marvel fan. One of the best on this channel. Appreciate you, dude. So yeah, if I did miss any super thankses, I will absolutely get every single one of you guys in the next Amped Up podcast. Any super thankses that I missed, if I did. Not in the office studio, so it's harder when I don't have the bigger screen. But seeing that gold card after the name of WWE, AEW, Marvel fan, it always just reminds me to give a big shout out to every single channel member, all of my amplified unit, man. You guys are the front lines, the top of the top in this community. I mean that when Mach says the cream rises to the top. That is the amplified unit gold status, man. That's the channel members. Every fucking month, you guys chucking that coffee over to BC when it's not needed. But you do it because you're saying thank you for entertaining us, BC. A lot of the times when these companies aren't doing it. Well, I appreciate you big time, man. It's such a humbling thing when people take the time to smash that up. Or to leave a comment to say, hey, BC, thanks, dude. Or to throw a coffee over to the channel when, again, it is not needed, but you do it anyway. So I always sincerely want to thank you guys to the most amplified of levels and measurements, man. Thank you again, channel members. To all of my amp unit who, even if you, listen, I know times can be rough. And like we talked about earlier, man, every dime, every penny counts. I get it. If you just smash the up to show that respect and appreciation and love to the channel, just know that it's right back to you. All right? So that's the deal. That's the podcast for today. You guys go off and be amplified for the rest of the damn day. Tomorrow we're gonna reconvene with SmackDown's review. Tonight's SmackDown, we're going to talk all about it. Yeah, we'll get to the Roman Reigns, Jason Uso, SummerSlam Summit, but it's what they do with LA Knight that is going to need to be discussed more than anything. That we may have to be extremely amplified for. Till next time, and there will be a next time. SmackDown's review, actually. Top guy, I'm out. BC, he's saying check you.